Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another race here in the Dark Souls Prepare to Die edition All Bosses Tournament. My name is Catalyst. I'm joined here by my good friend Alibaba. What's going on, Ali?
And hello everyone, I'm doing pretty good today. I'm going to be helping Kata commentate with this run. Hopefully, it's going to be a very close race. Some really good runners here, so it should be exciting to watch.
Absolutely. We've got some fun trivia here that both of these runners are probably some of the most experienced in the entire tournament, running for almost the longest time, next to some couple of other players. But yeah, both of these runners running since 2014, 2015. So a lot of hours under their belt. Of course, the game always changes. New routes are being discovered. This one, I should say, its finalized version was only really routed right before the tournament. So we'll see how those hours under their belts will play into it. Before we get the race underway, I just want to say that this is the lower bracket round 5. Of course, it's NaxHPL against Saastutin. It's the number 5 seed against number 17 seed, but those numbers don't really mean much as both these runners have been consistently showing great performances. When I look at the times that have been achieved by both runners this tournament, I see a 113 from Nax, I see a 113 from Saas, I see a fantastic 110.20 from Nax, I see, a 110.09 from Saas, so 110.46. So as you can see, both these runners are on paper neck and neck, and hopefully this race is gonna prove that. And yeah, without further ado, I think we are ready to get going. So I'll ask Regal to force start the race, and we'll get right on the way. We don't have the countdown because neither runner has the minus 15 second timer thing with race time. So whenever it starts, it will start.
And we're off.
Awesome.
So, yeah, both runners are going to be doing exactly the same route today, which is the current ES Malus variant. So they both started as Thief with black firebombs. Thief because it starts with the Master Key and firebombs so that they can kill the first boss, Asylum Demon, very quickly here at the start.
That's right. So it's going to be easy for you guys to track who's ahead, which is, well, it can be a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, we'll know exactly what is happening. Obviously, these races, as you probably know by now, are timed in RTA. So that means what you see on screen is exactly the difference between the two runners. Right now, they are neck and neck as they're approaching the first boss in the game, Asylum Demon. They're going to use the black fire bombs to dispose of him. It's 5 fire bombs. They both got good RNG, yeah?
Yeah, rip Asylum Demon.
And you're gonna see both runners, just little thing to pay attention to. You're gonna see them toggling their weapons on and off a lot throughout the run. That is to actually skip the acceleration portion of running, like the transition between jogging and sprinting. They're gonna be able to skip that with toggling, so doesn't save much time. I would assume it's like 2 seconds over the course of the entire run, but you never know, because I've seen races that end up 1 second apart, so this toggling could technically win one of these races.
Very true. Both runners picked up the Bandit's Knife. Not really a good weapon, but it's all you can really get at this point as Thief. Talk to Oscar to get the flask and the key, and now they're going to make their way out of the asylum. Normally, in IGT attempts, you would see runners quit out at this door, which saves a couple of seconds in-game time, but because, as Kata mentioned, we're timing in RTA, so quitting out there would actually be slower.
Yeah, Bandit Knife is not a great weapon because it cannot really stagger. One plus it has is that it's gonna be able to proc bleed, which is kind of nice. But most of the early game damage is gonna be coming up from the Gold Pine Resin consumable anyways. Alright, both runners are heading now to the Undead Burg, the first area of the game. There are some routes that you might know that go to New Londo Ruins, but All Bosses hasn't been doing that for a long time. If ever. And they have some business to do with the Undead Merchant here in Burg Alibaba, don't they?
Yeah, so they're going to be buying the rapier and the bow, which are two very essential items for a glitch later called move swap. They're going to buy the east-west shield, some arrows, and then they're going to perform a glitch called prompt swap to buy the bottomless box, even though they can't afford it. So what that does is, because this game is a PC port, you take advantage of the mouse. So you place the mouse over one of the arrows in the merchant menu, and then you press A or X on the controller and left mouse click at the same time. And what that does is it brings up the box, like the confirmation box to buy an item, and switches over to another set of items at the same time. And if you confirm that on an item you can't afford, you end up buying it. So they just did that for the bottomless box.
Yep, very well done. This is also the reason, like, the lack of souls is the reason why they don't buy a better early game weapon. Scimitar could be a good choice, or the reinforced club, but in the end, the only boss they're going to be fighting with the bandit's knife is actually Taurus Demon. They will also use it to cut Hellcat Dragon's tail, hopefully. On the left side of your screen, you see Nax jumping over the barrel. Sass is going to attempt to do the same thing. Great stuff from them. Nax is a little bit ahead, but this is like 4 or 5 seconds. It's absolutely no big deal, because not only are there a lot of mistakes to be made, but there's also a lot of RNG to kind of deal with.
Yeah, so now both runners are taking on the Taurus Demon, using the Gopan Resin because it adds a lot of damage to your weapon, and also Taurus is particularly weak to lightning. And when you combine that with the fact that the Bandit's Knife does quite a bit of bleed damage, the fight ends up actually being a lot quicker than you might expect.
Yep. So what you saw there, when I talk about RNG, Nax getting a little bit unlucky, allowing Sass to catch up slightly. And now both of the runners are going to be cutting the Hellkite Drake's tail, as I was talking about. That gives them the Drake Sword, which is actually going to be very important to get rid of Iron Golem. That's basically the only reason they get the weapon, but they still want to aggro the Drake so they don't have to YOLO under him. If you just YOLO under him, it will be faster, but you can get burnt to a crisp, which, well, that wouldn't be fun. So yeah, both of the runners getting the Drake Sword. That is very important, because if things go awry on this bridge, then a lot of memes can happen, because there might be quit outs necessary, and quit outs are always not that big of a deal regularly in normal runs, but because this is RTA timed, obviously quit outs are a huge deal. Now, in order to get to this next area that both runners are going to be entering, you need to ring the 2 bells of awakening to open up a gate. But neither runner is actually going to be doing that just yet. They will still ring the bells later, because it also opens the pit and Fireling Shrine. But instead, what they will do here is a sequence break called Sense Gate Skip. And it skips the Sense Gate, as the name kind of suggests. So what ends up happening here is both the runners quit out to de-aggro enemies pursuing them, and then they will aggro this hollow, and they will go ahead and parry him and proceed with a riposte. And as you can see on Nax's screen, and now on Sass's screen as well, both going for the left side, this weird top-down camera view activates. Now, this is because a death cam, as this is known, is a state that normally activates when you drop from a platform, and it's supposed to give you more of a cinematic feeling when you're falling to your death. However, what is important is that during this state, the game doesn't load or deload anything anymore. So when they activate the death cam, the start...
No.
Oh yeah, Sass having some memes there. This is why I think left side is risky in a race.
Yeah.
So let me quickly just summarize what's happening here. So when this death cam is activated, nothing loads or deloads anymore. But when they activate the death cam, the start of Sense Fortress is loaded, while the gate is not, because it's an asset to an area, so it loads a little bit later. At least that's the plan, and that's what happened with Nax. However, what the runners also want to do is they want to take the Undead Parish bonfire while they are in the death cam state. And unfortunately for Sass, what ended up happening is the hollow caught up too close to him. And as such, he wasn't able to rest at a bonfire, right? Because when enemies are nearby, you cannot rest at a bonfire. The way to fix that, normally, is to just quit out and do and load back in. But with the death cam being active, a quit out gets rid of that state. So yeah. And Sass getting a little bit impatient on his second attempt, but Nax dying as well. What is happening? Oh, they're gonna be absolutely even right now. Again, after all of this stuff. Because they
Actually,
both.
actually, I didn't see what happened on Nax's side though. Actually, just looking at
I think
chat.
he. I think he got. I think he got comboed by a lightning into a pendulum hit or something. I
That's
must say
really
that
unfortunate.
I was also looking at Sass's screen, but yeah, I'm curious to see because I know at least Sass doesn't watch the chat. I don't know if Nax does or not, but I wonder how this is gonna play out mentally. This is like really interesting right now because obviously neither runner knows that most likely that they both really messed up here at the start, right? So they think, oh no, I'm probably behind now, but they're actually still very, very even. Literally just a couple seconds apart, so... This is gonna be definitely something to ask after the race, because the mental game is very important when you're racing. Because you know you only have one chance. If you're regular speedrunning, you know that you have all the attempts in the world that you can do, and you can repeat the process. But when you're racing, got one shot. Alright, both runners now entering Sense Fortress, doing the quit out. And let's see how it goes for them on the second go for Nax, on the first go for Sass.
Yeah, so normally Sense Fortress is usually pretty simple in speedruns because it works on a cycle. But sometimes if you're not paying attention and you lose focus, sometimes memes can happen.
Yeah, this is where Nax got wrecked. I'm pretty sure he got combo there.
Yeah. Got past this time, luckily. So both runners are going to be using the Drake Sword weapon art here to break down the wall, and they're going to go talk to Big Hat Logan because they want to send him back to Firelink to buy some Soul Spears, later. And also we saw them perform the move swap glitch. Would you like to explain that to everyone, Kada?
Oh yeah, of course. So move swap is the bread and butter glitch of the Prepare to Die edition. And it basically goes like this. The only weapon that you can two-hand in your left hand in this game is the bow. But, as is kind of the case with DS1, the menuing can be abused quite a bit. So what the runners will do is they get stuck into an action. Most of the time it's going to be a jump roll. So they will run, jump, and then during the roll they will queue up two-handing a bow. And then before the game executes that action, they will swap out the bow for the weapon they want to use to attack with. What happens then is that the selected weapon will get two-handed in the left hand, and because the bow can only shoot arrows, it doesn't have any information for rolling, sprinting or running, and plunging attacks. It will take the info from their right hand, in which they possess the rapier, which is a thrusting weapon, and which moveset of which actually hits twice when it comes to the running attack. So not only is it a fast attack, and you're gonna see it on the upcoming boss for the first time, but also it hits in 2 ticks, and the damage is still taken from the left hand because that's what they are attacking with. So essentially they are able to abuse this to use slow but heavy hitting weapons and bypass their downside, that is the slowness.
And they're going to be abusing that with the Dragon Tooth a bit later in the run. But both runners are going to be doing the Fight an Iron Golem here. Main strategy is once you deal 400 damage below his knees, he will stagger, and then if you deal 200 additional damage, he'll fall. So the strategy is to try to angle him in a way so that he'll actually fall off the bridge once he falls, which isn't that hard, but it does take a bit of practice to get good at. So we'll see how it goes here, Max.
Yeah, absolutely. The Iron Golem fight doesn't really seem that difficult if it's executed properly, but it really tests the runner's ability to control the character when it comes to movement, when it comes to angling attacks and stuff like that. So it's looking pretty good for Nax. He got a good stagger, and it's looking pretty good for Sass as well. Little trivia, this strategy both the runners are using is actually Sass's creation. He is the one who invented this exact strategy, so shoutouts to him for that. Alright, both runners in Analondo, and one of the scariest parts of the run is actually coming up, the rafters.
Yeah, so the reason it's scary is because both runners are not going to be taking the Analondo bonfire, which means that if they were to die, they would go all the way back to Undead Parish. And on the first ladder, before the rafters, you can just get sniped by knives sometimes, and there's literally nothing you can do. So hopefully that doesn't happen, though.
All right, so what you see the runners do here, it's not that important. They don't really need to keep this soul. But essentially, they're doing a confirmation box dupe. So what that is similar to Moose Swap, except they use it with a consumable item. So they will be stuck in an action. There it was, again, the jump roll as they were getting on the elevator. And then they queue up using the soul, but before the game executes it, they also use Estus from their inventory. And what ends up happening is the Estus flask gets the properties of the soul that they queued up. So when they confirm the box that shows up, what ends up happening is the Estus flask gets detracted. They use an Estus flask charge, while they still get the currency from the regular souls, and they keep the soul item, the boss soul item. They're gonna be abusing that, I believe, with a bone maybe still. I'm not actually quite sure if you even need to do bones in this run. Yeah, after ONS.
Yeah, and that can be used with any item that has a confirmation box. So both runners are going to make their way to the Darkmoon Tomb Bonfire because they want to come back here later to fight the Anolondo bosses. They're also going to pick up a ring called Ring of the Sun's Firstborn for a glitch called Equip Slot Manipulation, which we'll see a bit later. And they're going to level up some stats as well.
Yeah, gotta level up stats to be able to use the Dragon Tooth that Ali mentioned. They want to be using that weapon from here on out, pretty much, except for sorceries also later on, which they will pivot into. But for the upcoming fight, it's gonna be the Dragon Tooth. It's good to see that both runners so far got through Anolondo well, because it can be a very scary part. That being said, running up to the cathedral now can also be a little bit scary. But first, what both the runners will try to do is basically quit out when leaving the elevator here. So normally most elevators, once you actually pull the lever, they will already like move their default position to the other, to the top or to the bottom, wherever you send them. But this spiral staircase is different in that it basically needs to dock all the way. So what you see the runners do is they leave the elevator and quit out. So their last stored position gets put on the solid ground. Meanwhile, the elevator resets down back to the bottom. So you saw it there on Sas's screen. He double checked to make sure. That allows them to basically be able to just run up the elevator next time they go there instead of having to call it back down, right? Because they're going to be teleporting back to the Darkroot Tomb Bonfire, as Ali mentioned. Saves a little bit less time. RTA, of course, because it involves a quit out, but it's still worth it.
Yeah, and also it looks cool as well, so worth doing. No memes from the Batwing Demons, that's good. Hopefully Silver Knights will be nice as well.
You see the dragon art, weapon art of the dragon, of the Drake sword used again?
Oh, we got to see both versions of the Silver Knight.
Exactly, yeah, that was great. Alright, Nax.
Oh, Nax skipping the ONS bonfire, huh?
Yeah, I respect that. I mean, I think this is just a hypothesis, or a theory, I should say. But I think it's because he messed up in Sense Fortress. I think he thinks that he's playing catch-up, so he's trying to like play as risky as possible, essentially.
Yeah, that could be true.
Because I don't think he skipped the bonfires before. Like, I'm not sure if there was anyone else besides me who skipped those bonfires here.
I skipped it.
Oh, you as well? Nice.
Yeah. I don't think anyone else has, though.
Yeah, so this bonfire is essentially just for safety, but it kind of makes sense because ONS is one of the most random fights that you will encounter in this run. And basically dying to them here means you get sent all the way back to the Darkmoon Tomb bonfire, have to do the entire run back, which is just awful. But I can understand skipping it because essentially at this level of a race, even though a lot of memes can happen in a race, if you're assuming your opponent is going to play their best and end up with a solid run, dying to ONS in the first place, whether you have the safety bonfire or not, is basically going to mean a loss. So not taking it, I can definitely understand.
Bit walk opener for Nax. Didn't get jump back though.
Oh, he got saved by Smo there.
Oh, yeah. Did
Oh.
not get the second stagger. This is very monkish.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Well.
Alright, let's see what happens to Sass, of course. Sass has the luxury of the bonfire now as well. And he has the luxury of very comfortable phase 1
That was
RNG
a very,
as well.
very clean Ornstein.
Yep.
Very clean.
So now in phase 2, staggering Smo should be very easy because Dragon Tooth, besides having pretty decent damage, even though you cannot really see it yet because it's not upgraded, it also deals a lot of poise, so he's able to just stagger lock Smo like this. So I want to quickly elaborate on what happened with Nax there. So Nax actually overlapped his stagger or Ornstein. So while Ornstein was still basically recovering from the initial stagger, he attacked again. Then Smo moved him away with the shovel, so he saved Nax there. And then Nax went for the final attack. He traded with Ornstein, but I believe after that, which I was kind of afraid of, he got a turnaround animation, and he just got shoveled by Smo. All he needed was just create a little bit more separation there between himself and Smo, and he wouldn't have gotten shoveled to death. But yeah, that's unfortunately pretty bad.
Yeah. It's not quite over yet, but Sass does have quite a considerable lead now.
Absolutely, yeah. Also, as Kamul points out in the chat, it is very unlucky that he got that stab there, because that stab deals a lot of damage, and it's very fast. Like, I don't want to say if Ornstein did any other attack, it would have been fine, but there are definitely things that Ornstein could have done with pretty much the same probability that wouldn't have killed Nax there. And because he was full health, even with the Smo shovel after that, if he got hit by it, he would have survived, so.
Yeah.
It goes to show, however, that even, like, you know, very experienced runners are always gonna struggle with this game. Nax now taking the bonfire. And you can have a lot of early game memes happening, and late game memes, and mid game memes. There can be memes everywhere in this game. And no one is safe from Miyazaki's wrath.
Meanwhile, we see Sass going to do the Gargoyles. It's normally a early game boss, but he's doing them with a mid game weapon, so he's just with move swap, so he's just going to destroy them in a couple of hits.
Yep, the poison damage will come into play here big as well. As you can see, stagger with the first half of the move swap on Smo or Ornstein. What was necessary was getting both hits from the move swap. Alright, let's see second ONS fight. Getting some unfortunate double jumps there as well. He's gonna try to strafe this attack from Smo. Very well done. And okay, that was a nice chase on Ornstein there. That was very well played. And second phase should hopefully be fine, as Sass will be pulling the lever here to ring the first Bell of Awakening. So the runners, as I mentioned, they want to open up the Firelink pit that leads to Firelink altar as soon as possible, essentially, because they want to get Frampt to wake up, because they will be performing some glitchy stuff there. And the sooner they can do it, the better. So that's why immediately after getting the mid-game weapon, they are coming back to pursue this goal.
Yeah, we also saw the Sass killed Lautrec. That's because if you do not, and then you ring the second bell, he'll take away the Firekeeper, which doesn't prevent you from warping to Firelink, but it does prevent you from resting there, which would lose quite a bit of time later, so just faster to kill him there.
Absolutely.
Talk to Rickard to buy a Catalyst here, because Logan doesn't sell one, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, has only one, so...
That's true.
Don't know where Rickard got this insane storage of catalysts, but hey, it works out in our favor. It's right on the way to Blighttown. Speaking of Blighttown, there's gonna be Blighttown plunges coming up. They can also always be scary, because there can be some meme scenarios that can kill you. So what Sass is gonna be doing, he's gonna be plunge attacking or basically when he's midair, he's gonna be, you know, pressing R1, a slope surface, and that's gonna allow him to enter a glitched animation out of which rolling is possible. He's then gonna try to time the roll to line up with the fall damage being dealt to his character. And the roll's iframes, as you can see there, that's the first plunge. And hopefully the second one, there you go. The roll's iframes, invincibility frames, prevent the fall damage from being dealt to the character. So that was really well done. It speeds up the descent quite a bit.
We will see some more plunges throughout the run, but those are definitely the most important ones, I would say.
Yep, there are actually a lot of ways how to prevent fall damage from occurring to your character. In Dark Souls, we're gonna get to see another method later on. Meanwhile, Nax getting rid of Gargoyles as well. That was well done.
Yeah, Sass got the double hit on the jump opener.
Very nice done, yeah. Forcing out the farts there by attacking Quillag's butt. That was very well played.
Yeah, that was clean.
It's very well executed fight for sure. I really wonder how this is gonna weigh in on... Like, this entire race has been really strange so far when it comes to what's happened. I really wonder how this is all playing out in the runners' heads, in their mindset. Because, ladies and gentlemen, even though it looks like both runners are separated by quite a bit, almost every single death in this game is gonna cost you a lot of time. So don't forget that Sass also messed up at the start of the run. Or I should say he got unlucky with the holo catching up and then he died to Sense Gate skip. So he might also be feeling the pressure and he might be trying to just play, you know, as risky as possible. And then like one death to Artorias or something without a safety bonfire spawning outside of the DLC, that's easily like 3 minutes lost, which could definitely lead to Nax catching up. So basically the race is not over until it is over. Until the credits are rolling, it's always open. All right, Ali, you want to explain what's going to be happening here on Framped?
I'll give it my best shot. So they're going to be trying to perform a glitch called quantity storage. So they're going to use the stored quantity of 99 that they got from a loading screen, and then they're going to store up the confirmation box of the homeward bone, and then they're going to select the no option on the arrows, and that will actually allow them to sell to Framped the stored quantity they have of the arrows. And what that does, it basically tricks the game, because the game basically thinks that because you sold more of an item than you actually have, that you actually therefore must have more of an item than you have. So you not only sell 99 arrows, but you also get 999 arrows in return. But then they do the same thing with the soul of Quelaag, but they do it with the quantity of 999 instead to get a lot of souls.
Yep, and then the same thing is basically being performed on Logan here, but except here it allows Sass to purchase more Soul Spears than just one. So normally there are two ways to get a Soul Spear here, and one of them is from Logan, one of them is later from Griggs if you progress the storyline here with Logan. So normally you can get up to 8 charges of Soul Spear, but or 8 casts, 2 charges. But thanks to quantity storage, he's able to purchase 4 of them there just from Logan, so that's pretty cool. Gonna help out because this game doesn't have like a regular mana system that you might be used to from latter games in the series or even Demon Souls. Instead, it uses, as you can see, 10 homing soul master. It uses an absolute number of casts, and not having enough casts could be problematic for some of the fights where sorceries will be used.
Yeah. And he got a bunch of levels of the souls that he got. Some of them are quite specific, like 52 endurance for a glitch called Air Rolls later, and 53 strength for 2-shot Artorias, and 45 dex for faster cast speed, and obviously 99 int for magic, have max magic damage, and invit and attunement.
So now Nax was able to get through Quelaag as well. He's going to be following the entire procedure that Sass just did. So if you didn't really catch it, correctly on Sass's screen, you can always look over at Nax on the left side now. Meanwhile, Sass is now heading over to Stray, which is the first target because now both the runners, essentially, after dealing with Frampt and doing some business with him, what they want to do is enter Painted World to get the Red Sign Soapstone, which they will use to glitch out a Red Tear Stone ring for themselves. We'll get to that later. But in order to enter the Painted World, they first need to pick up the Peculiar Dolls. So that's why they head back to Asylum immediately. And first they will deal with Stray here with sorceries. Stray is an absolute tank, and since the Dragon Tooth isn't upgraded yet, and one thing that we haven't mentioned about move swap is that even though you are using the moveset of the right-handed weapon, all the stamina and everything is still being charged from the left-handed weapon. And of course, a running attack with the Dragon Tooth consumes a lot of stamina, so without the upgrades here, the DPS might not be that great. Like, if you need to do a lot of attacks in a row, the DPS kind of goes down, so that's why Sass is using the sorceries there.
He's going to pick up the Peculiar Doll, which is the item needed to enter the Painted World, and then he's going to make his way to that area. And the main reason why you want to go there this early is because I believe it's a few seconds faster, and also because you want to get an item called the Red Sign Soapstone, which is the other item that's really essential for the ESM glitch.
Exactly, yeah. So the two spells that Sass is wielding and that Nax is now also attuning, they're homing Soul Mass and Soul Spear. You saw them in action on Stray Demon. Homing Soul Mass is basically not a very reliable spell, but it casts all these orbs around you that will then automatically trigger at enemies. Soul Spear is just a regular, basically, particle magic that you send out. It's a projectile, nothing too special about it. Except for the fact that it might pierce enemies, which is kind of cool. You can hit up to 2 enemies, which we might be able to see later on in the run, just to give a little bit of a teaser.
Yeah.
Alright, so the run through Painted World normally can be a little bit scary, especially if you're setting up your HP for the Red Tear Stone ring, which, if you're under 20% health, gives you double or even triple damage sometimes. But they're not doing that in this run because they don't possess the ring yet, and also because both the runners have leveled up so much now thanks to the scammed souls from Frampt. Not only do they have a decent amount of health, but also from all the soul levels that they gained, they have a decent amount of passive resistances, so even getting hit here isn't that big of a deal. But worry not, because they will be setting up the RTSR range for most of the bosses, so getting hit by anything in a boss fight will generally kill them. So it's not just gonna be free sail all the way to the end. All right, another plunge here. Very well done. And a cool little skip here to not have to deal with clearing up the Painted World and getting the key to approach the next boss. Because this is actually a prototype level. This is the first level that FromSoft designed for this game. And Miyazaki really liked it, and he just wanted to have it in the game. That's why it's kind of a little bit out of place. The winter doesn't really fit the theme, the world at all. So instead it is locked in a painting like this. But it also comes with this funny hitbox, or I should say funny collision, where you can do a very easy skip to essentially skip the entire arena.
Yeah. And we see that Sash shoots Priscilla with an arrow. And then locks onto her, and the arrow is basically insurance in case he doesn't get a good lock on, but luckily he did.
Yeah, because as soon as Priscilla takes damage, she goes invisible, and, well, invincible as well for a little bit. Yeah. And if she spawns somewhere where she's outside of your camera view, you're not going to stay locked onto her, so having the arrow there is really good, because you can still see the actual projectile, or I should say the model of the arrow. Alright, so you want to give ESM a shot, or?
Yeah, I can explain it, I suppose. So, yeah, we've been mentioning a couple of times equip slot manipulation, and this is going to be the glitch in action. So they're going to perform quantity storage again, but this time they're going to do it to buy 999 pikes in one. What that does is, basically in this game there is actually a weight limit, and it's a leftover mechanic from Demon Souls, but they set it at 10,000 weight units, which is pretty much impossible to reach casually. But using quantity storage, we can actually overflow that, which puts us in what we call a cram state, where you cannot pick up new items, and you also cannot unequip rings, and if you attempt to, you get a little error message. And then for some reason that I don't really understand, the game then lets you equip items from other equipment slots into your right wing slot, and if you do that for the red sign soapstone, you actually get the red tearstone ring, which Kado already explained about. And yeah, so it lets you glitch it into your inventory, which saves quite a bit of time over picking it up normally.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is important to note that the runners will never actually possess the ring. They just equip the consumable in the ring slot, right? So that means they only have an item that acts like the ring. That means whenever they would actually drop it by accident or something like that, I mean unequip it, sorry, by accident, they would have to go ahead and repeat the glitch. So that would mean getting another glitched pike at Andre. So they definitely don't want to do that because that would lose quite a bit of time. All right, so the plan now for Nax is obviously to do the same that Sass just did. But he needs to fight Priscilla first. He'll do it the same way. He also didn't go for the plunge, so you can see he took a bunch of damage. So hopefully his Priscilla fight will go well. She can proc bleed and deal some decent damage, even though you have all these extra levels I talked about. Meanwhile, for Sass, he just took the Darkroot Garden Bonfire. With this bonfire, it is not actually warpable, so the goal is to... That means you cannot warp into back to it. So the goal is to basically clear up as many things as are possible here in the forest. So he's gonna start by killing Hydra. He set up RTSR with full damage there on the bridge. As you can see, his character is now shining in red, and also the icon in the top left of his screen there shows you the little gem. So killing Hydra should be pretty okay. It's just 3 soul spears. Very good. You also saw Sass drop the pike and then pick it up. This is because that basically nullifies the glitched state, the glitched weight of the pike. And both the runners are going to be using the pike for some weight load setups. So it is important to do that. And also, obviously, you're not going to be able to unequip your ring if you have that glitched pike. If you are at that cram level, that max, you know, inventory capacity level. So Hydra is dead. The reason Hydra needs to be killed is for Dusk to be freed, as that is the way to get to the DLC, or one part of it anyway. And DLC has 4 bosses, so obviously DLC needs to be done. But immediately after freeing Dusk, Sass is also gonna go to the other side of the lake, and that is to summon Dusk. Because summoning Dusk allows you to not just purchase the hidden body spell, that's not actually as important just yet. But it is important because later on in the run, as they're gonna be both the runners entering the DLC, the Dusk set is gonna spawn right next to the entrance. And the Dusk set has Dusk Crown as part of it, and that boosts sorceries. So essentially, this entire detour here, which takes about a minute to summon Dusk, is necessary in order to obtain that one item. You might think that 20% boost to sorceries isn't that much, but it is absolutely crucial for a couple of fights where sorceries are going to be used. And it is well worth it. There's also going to be some duping action here, so it's going to happen very quickly. What Sass does, again, he purchased the catalysts with the same quantity storage glitch. And then, as you saw there, he just dropped a negative amount of items, right? So what happens is he purchased 999 catalysts, or 998. But then when you look at the catalysts again, when you try to purchase them again, the game has to calculate like how many to offer to you. So the max stack of a weapon is 1, right? You're not supposed to stack weapons on top of each other, but the inherent quantity of the item is very high. So what it does is it calculates the max number of items in a stack and subtracts the amount of items that you have in a stack already. So you end up with a negative number, and that is stored in the memory. And then through prom swap and through double menu shenanigans, Sass is able to navigate that into the drop prompt of an item, and he drops a negative amount of scales, which is important because obviously dropping a negative amount of items results in them being duped in your inventory instead. And dragon scales are normally kind of hard to come by, and that's what they will use both the runners to upgrade their dragon tooth. On the left side of the screen, you saw a very big save there from Nax. He was going for the Hydra plunge as well. Oh, never mind. He
Oh,
didn't get the
yeah.
save. That's
bad, man.
unfortunate. So I got a little bit behind there on the explanation, but I hope it made sense. I'm gonna try to maybe clarify it one more time when Nax is performing the duping glitch. But essentially what happened there is for Nax, he plunged attack the slope, but he got a very slow animation. So he wouldn't have been able to roll late enough to have the iframes line up with the fall damage, right? So what he did is he really like skillfully recognized that that wasn't gonna work, and he tried to quit out. But unfortunately, his character already hit the ground by then, and it dealt the damage to him. So even though he quit out on time, he then reloaded and then died anyway. So he lost even more time than if he just died immediately.
Yeah, we see Saas coming up to Sif after setting a bad desire with what we call the consistent knight. So both runners, including Saas, are going to be doing magic Sif instead of DT Sif, which is why we didn't see Saas dupe at all on the butterfly segment. The fights aren't that different, but some people have differences of opinion about which fight is better. But we'll see how it goes for Saas here. Oh, nice block. Now, that was actually pretty clean.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it can definitely be a lot worse.
Yeah, blocking there is pretty nice because this shield, the Caduceus or whatever you pronounce it, shield that both the runners purchased from Andre has 100% physical damage reduction. So as long as you have enough stamina to actually, you know, not get guard broken, it's pretty nice that you can just block an attack instead of having to roll it. All right, so as Sass is running towards Analondo now to not just get rid of Seath, but also obtain the broken pendant from the blue Golem, an item that is necessary to enter the DLC. Nax will be performing the dupe again, so again, pay attention to what he does. He's gonna store a quantity first for quantity storage purchase of the catalysts. He might have already done that actually. He summons Dusk here. Then he gets rid of the golems. Then he does the quantity storage right there with the bow toggle. Then he waits, purchases the catalysts, purchases hidden body from the soul pop, looks at catalysts again, opens two menus at the same time thanks to prompt swapping on the brightness menu, and then navigates that stored quantity into a drop prompt, and as such gets a surplus of the items. Alright, Sass using the Hidden Body spell for the first time. He's going to be killing the Blue Golem here. The Hidden Body spell, if it works as it should, it does exactly what it sounds like. It hides your body. Essentially, it means that the enemies are going to be seeing you later. They're going to be aggroing at a little bit of a later time, which is definitely useful here. As you can see, there's a lot of enemies around. It's especially useful for DLC, which has a lot of random enemies around that also have ranged attacks, so they can be very scary. And here comes the Duke Skip. How much time does Duke Skip save, Ali?
Well, some people have different estimates from maybe 3 to 5 minutes, but it's definitely the skip that in this route definitely saves the most time. It's one of the older skips and still used today. Allows you to skip, obviously, the intentional death sequence at Seath and going through the prison and running all around Duke's archives. So yeah, it's a very big time save.
Yeah, good to see Sass perform it so well.
Yeah, Duck.
Alright, so one more thing that you will see often is you can see that Sass's health bar is half right now. That is because he has the Dust Crown equipped. This is an item that he obtained from Hydra, and it basically allows him to reduce his health power by 50%. And because the fall damage in this game is based on max HP, or like it's percentage based essentially, it allows him to take a little bit more damage that way. And then when he unequips the ring, he's going to be at a lower percentage overall. And it's going to allow him to be in the RTSR state, which, as I mentioned, is under 20% max health. So you're going to see that from this drop that he's going to decide to do. Let's see if he does manly drop. He doesn't. That's not going to be RTSR yet, right? It's just barely, not under 20%. But of course, this absolute value will still stay the same when he unequips the ring. So that way he's going to be able to get into RTSR.
He might get on the next drop. We'll see.
Could be as well, yeah. So he doesn't even have to unequip it.
Yeah, he did. Nice. Also, nice save for Nax there as well.
Mm-hmm. So Seath has this insane crystal that he's worked on his entire life on. And then a Hollow shows up with 999 arrows that he purchased for like $2 at Target. And just breaks it. Not great.
Yeah, I mean, he did just leave it out in the open though, to be fair. Yeah, he's gonna have to take some responsibility for that.
I mean, it's kind of deep, you know, in these crystal caves. Like, I mean... It is hidden kind of deep with the Nanalondo, but yeah, you're right. Definitely should have had some bulletproof glass at least or something.
Well, now Sass is going to make his way to the DLC, to the first boss, Sanctuary Guardian. First, he's going to do the plunge we saw earlier first, which we saw Nax unfortunately died to. Hopefully won't happen for Sass, though.
Nice caster's curse attempt.
Yeah. And yeah, he's going to be using the Dust Crown ring again to set up RTSR instead of equipping lots of armor like before.
Yeah, the DLC is definitely one of the scariest parts of the run. The bosses are really good, probably the best bosses that the game has to offer, but even with this insane damage that the runners have, like I said, you know, they're going to be in the RTSR range, so one mistake, one overextension, one point where they're not able to roll in time, and it's going to cost them their lives. So especially, I want to say Guardian here and Artorias are going to be scary now for Sass, because he will not take the bonfire after Guardian, also Asylum. So if he dies to one of those bosses, he's going to be sent all the way to Darkroot Garden, which definitely could be a chance for Nax to start catching up. Nax, unfortunately, not getting Duke Skip there, first try. Meanwhile, Sass in the fight getting some lightning treatment, some Pikachu cosplay right there. Four of them now.
Nice Dutch Guardian.
Alright, he ends up getting the wombo combo. Should be able to punish it now into stagger, into another running attack, and that's death. Alright, great. Kept his cool there. Didn't panic or anything. Very good.
So yeah, and we saw that Sass just equipped some armor, and he's setting up his inventory now for air rolls. I'm going to leave that to you though, Kara, to explain, because I'm not too familiar with the tech of it.
Alright, so this is essentially a glitch where the runners are going to try to get into a very specific weight low interval, percentage-wise. It's actually, for PTDE, Prepare to Die Edition, it's very precise. It's between 25 and 25.000088%. And while they're within that interval, the game will allow them to continuously chain rolls even mid-air. I don't know if I want to get into the specifics, because essentially it's all based on the fact that From Software wanted the recovery of each roll to scale accordingly to what your weight load is. But obviously, since there's only a certain amount of frames, it's not going to be as smooth as possible. So here's the air rolls. And again, the last roll is lined up with the ground, so the iframes from the roll are not actually are basically preventing the fall damage from occurring. In Remaster, because of 60 FPS, which means more smoothness and more roll tiers, or I should say sub-tiers, arrows are really easy to set up. But here, they require very, very precise equipment, and they obviously will also change depending on how much endurance you have. So this is all very precisely calculated. All right, Artorias fight now for Sass, one of the scariest, like I said, but that was
very nice.
Very smooth.
Yeah, that's pretty much essentially the exact fight you want.
Yep. Gets the stagger on the first move swap. What is scary is that the Dragon Tooth move swap, I should say stagger, is not actually that long. So you don't have enough time to do 2 running attacks in a row without Artorias, you know, shuffling around and rolling out of the way and stuff. So definitely there can be some memes, some misses, and then Artorias can retaliate, and that's never fun. But that went really well for Sass. Definitely one of the scariest parts of the run, I would say. So now Sass is also killing Gwendolyn. This is basically one of the best times to do it. We don't do it earlier in the run, because we do not have the damage yet to be able to one-cycle him.
Nice RJSR setup.
Mm-hmm.
So now he doesn't... Normally, without RTSR, you'd need to bait out the arrows from Gwendolyn, because that's the only attack you can stagger him afterwards. But with RTSR, you don't actually need to wait for that specific attack, because you just kill him in one running attack, as you saw there.
Yeah, what's also nice about being able to do it in just one running attack is that you keep enough stamina to be able to Dark Sign immediately when the fight is done, instead of having to wait out some stamina, right? So that's pretty cool. All right, so now Sass is heading over to Calamit's arena. If you've played the game casually, you would probably assume that he's going to get there, trigger the fight, and then go ahead, get the crest key, go up to Golf's Tower, have him shoot down the Drake or Dragon, and then go fight him regularly. But that's not actually what's going to be happening here. So the big premise of this run and all this magic stuff that you see with the Soul Spears and whatnot, it's almost exclusively for this strategy, which will allow us to kill Calamite without Golf, without his assistance. Essentially skipping that entire side quest, and as such, you know, saving quite a bit of time, because getting the crest key and going into Golf's Tower and extra Calamite visit, like, it adds up quite a bit. So essentially what Sass is gonna hope to do is stay far away before Calamite decides on what attack to do. And that's gonna force him to essentially do an attack that hits the basically hits further back in the arena, and Sass will be able to stand in a spot that is blind to the Calamite damage, and then cast the Soul Spears as Calamite is not able to hit him. Very nice, got the 4 there. He needs 8, so that means 2 cycles. Now he's going to be shrugging, not to style on Calamite, but instead he's actually timing his return, because just staying in the blind spot wouldn't work, as that would trigger the wrong attack from Calamite. So we need to move away from the blind spot and then return on time. Returning too soon means that we will die, because Calamite will do the wrong attack. Returning too late means we don't have enough time to cast full Soul Spears, but it seems like Sass knows what he's doing, and that's perfect execution. Great.
Yeah, and that's one of the first big major time save of having Dust Crown, because it lets you get 2 cycles instead of 3, which saves 30 seconds. Sounds very nice. Can do some more arrows here.
Yep. These are pretty cool. For the previous one that you saw, the previous arrows for the Royal Wood skip, there's a way to do it with a plunge. You're gonna see it, well, the skip that I'm talking about is gonna be on Nax's screen now, but he doesn't have the proper setup, so he has to quit out. I think he messed up some of his menus there. He'll have to double check. There we go. But the thing is, there's a way essentially to do it with a fall damage cancel with a plunge. But these ones that you see here, you would normally need fall control for. And because fall control is never acquired in this run, these save quite a bit of time, these arrows.
And now on Sass's side, he's going to go pick up the Dark Beat spell. We'll see. I'm going to see how Nax's Artorias goes here first before I explain that.
Mm-hmm. All right, he's not going for the 2 hits. Very good.
Still relatively
Very
clean,
good.
though.
Yeah.
Yep, so as I was saying with Darkbeat, basically it's going to be the spell that both runners will be using through pretty much all the late game, and basically shoots out a bunch of Darkbeats at once. And when you combine that with the fact that we have 99 Int and RTSR and Dust Crown, we're going to end up dealing an insane amount of damage to all the late game bosses.
That's right.
So nice styling move swap from Sass there.
Mm-hmm. Basically cutting the trajectory there a little bit while getting the move swap. Now a nice small 4-gate skip allows him to set up RTSR and enter the fight a little bit quicker. And now the question is how the fight is going to go, because Manus definitely has a lot of power and it's a very skill-based fight still. It's 3.5 running attacks. There's the first one, gets a good second follow-up, rolls it perfectly. Let's see what magic he now gets. Okay, this will be a shotgun. Good strafe, now one more running attack, and that was perfectly played from Sass. Really good RNG as well. Definitely the DLC boss is not helping Nax here in his quest of catching up.
This was a pretty nice DLC for Sass. Guardian was a bit shaky, but everything else was really clean.
Mm-hmm.
He's now going to go perform one of the most infamous glitches in this tournament, which is the Fire Surge Elevator clip. So basically, when you quit out in this game, when you load back in, your character moves backwards a tiny amount. And when the Fire Surge Elevator, basically, because it's part of the daughter of like the Lost Izalith, and the rest of the area is part of Quailag's domain, it loads in a bit later than everything else. So if you position yourself correctly and quit out a couple of times, you can actually just clip through. And because Fire Surge Demon is basically just a reskin of Asylum Demon, you can plunge on top of his head like you would Asylum Demon, and yeah, you don't die from the drop that way.
Yeah. Until you do when hitting the branch, but yeah, that didn't happen to Sass there. So definitely one of the most visually impressive skips in the entire game. Top 3, I would say, for a lot of people. Just the amount of things that have to come together for this skip to work is just amazing. Like the fact that the boss is directly under the hole there, under the elevator, and the fact that because it's a reskin, you can plunge him. Although, you know, you're never really supposed to casually, it just works out so well. And of course, the AI trigger is by the fog gate normally, but because the runners don't enter by the fog gate or through the fog gate, he never actually tries to protect himself or defend himself, so yeah. So Centipede Demon should be pretty calm. Meanwhile, Nax dealing with Calamite here. Let's see if it goes as well for him as it went for Sass. Alright, got it there.
Nice.
And you can see that Calamite first actually finishes his, fly animation and only then dies. But the proof that the boss is dead is here, the fact that Nax will get the ring and the 60,000 souls, so that is the way to tell that the boss is dead, even if you couldn't see the animation.
Yeah. And I hope everyone has their shades ready for the area that Sass is in right now.
Yeah, well, at least it's covering only half the screen. It's not in full screen, so I guess that's a W, but yeah.
That's true.
So yeah, the late game is a little bit of a... It's kind of strange, because the late game is essentially a cleanup of the bosses that are remaining. We are killing bosses outside of the DLC, so in the base game, with a DLC spell with 99 intelligence and the Crown of Dusk, and RTSR, of course, so we have tons of damage. But there are things that, like, they just go a little bit awry, and they can still cause you to lose a lot of time. It's the little things that can just happen, like missing Loverberg skip or missing Fogate skip in Tomb of the Giants. These are the little things to kind of look out for. And of course, again, Nito, very easy boss fight, all things considered, but this is a high pressure situation. As I said, Neither runner probably knows how they're doing exactly. I would say Nax at this point, he's just, you know, like trying to see what sticks. Essentially, he doesn't really, probably doesn't really care about the run too much anymore. Shouldn't be nervous. But Sass, again, he knows that he messed up at the start. He's gonna be trying to push the tempo as much as possible. And dying to something like Nito in these high pressure situations is absolutely possible. And it's gonna lose a lot of time. Because you would be sent all the way back to Firelink, and the run back is pretty bad. So here we see Nax not actually getting RTSR set up for Manus, unfortunately for him. So that fight, you're gonna be able to see how much longer it's gonna take because of not having RTSR. Meanwhile, Bed of Chaos being dismantled on the right side of your screen with some precisely aimed Talkie bombs in the middle of the arena.
No
Nax
bombs,
getting
that's
hit
good.
there. Yep, that is true. Let's see if there's any firestorms. Nothing. Okay, that's good Bed of Chaos. Meanwhile, Nax got hit by Manus. I was really scared, but he had enough health to actually survive the hit.
Oh, this is some really bad RNG from Manus.
Yeah. I mean, this is the big thing, right? Like, again, getting hit there, but he managed to heal up while Manus was performing his wombo combo, so Nax is all good. But this is what, like, exactly RTSR is all about. Not only that you deal more damage, but the big thing is that you don't actually have to wait out for as many patterns thanks to that, as many attacks that you can punish. So that means you're not relying as much on RNG as you might be without it.
Yeah, so just to kind of explain what we saw on Bed of Chaos on Sass's side is basically in the Bed of Chaos fight, it's usually meant to be like a platforming kind of thing, where there's basically like this barrier that prevents you from going to the actual boss itself until you destroy two kind of orb things on the left of the arena and on the right. And like once you destroy one, the floor starts breaking and Bed of Chaos starts trying to kill you and stuff. But if you position yourself in a specific location, you can actually just throw two bombs, as we saw Sass do, and destroy them really quickly, and then just roll straight to Bed of Chaos, which skips, honestly, a really bad fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not a fight you want to spend too much time in, because no matter how much health you have, no matter how many levels you have, if you fall off of a platform to your death, you know, gravity doesn't make any compromises in this game, so definitely very easy to die. Right now, it's Sass in the lead by quite a bit. I'm not gonna try to sugarcoat this. There's definitely a lot of stuff that would have to go air right now for Sass in order for Nax to catch up, but you never know. You never know. Because right now, as I was talking about Nito, that's where he is going.
Yeah, I think Nito will probably be the last opportunity for a really big time loss. But he has the catacombs to do first, so he's gonna go pull the lever, and then he's gonna perform what will hopefully be the last air rolls of the run. On his way to Pinwheel.
Of course, 4 Kings can also be tricky, but I mean, 4 Kings generally, the biggest thing there is, I don't think it's possible to die. Of course it is, but even then, it wouldn't actually lose that much time. And generally, if there's any mistake there, it's probably going to result in a 2 cycle instead of a 1 cycle, so it's like a 40-second time loss or something. So it's not that huge. Alright, nice arrows there. Has the hidden body active, but that doesn't mean they cannot spot you. They're coming, Sass. Alright, nice dodge. These bone wheels definitely can be quite scary as well, even with this health pool, because if they get stuck on you, it's gonna be a lot of DPS being dealt to you without, you know, you having any chance to actually get out of it, besides maybe quitting out as it's happening.
Oh, nice path into Tomb of the Giants there from Sass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, will he
Let's
go
see
for
if he does the full
Will he?
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, he's not.
Ah.
So he's not pushing it as much as possible, as I was saying. The skip saves about 5 seconds. You can jump on the little path on the bottom where the Black Knight with the halberd is. Sass also making sure to not take too much fall damage on the way to Nito so that he doesn't have to heal up for the RTSR setup there. Meanwhile, Nax approaching Bed of Chaos as well.
Yeah,
Quick aim on the first Firebomb.
Yeah, not healing either, so Firestorm.
Yeah,
if he gets one,
Firestorm
might
can
be spooky.
definitely. It's dodgeable, but I mean, the thing is also, I feel like in PTDE compared to Rima.
Oh no!
Okay, nice. Yeah, at worst case scenario, he was gonna trade there, and he was like, you could clearly see that he was standing in a blind spot there as he was casting, so that was really good awareness from Nax to not lose his cool, not start, you know, rolling around like a madman, and instead just realized he was safe and did a Dark Bead cast. Great stuff.
Ooh. Actually, I don't think that's a stored roll from Sass. I think he intentionally does that. No screams. It's nice.
Oh, that was a scream, but it was a bit too late. It was a scream of his own death.
Oh, was there a scream?
Yeah, at the very end. Yeah, at the very end.
One. Nice.
Yeah. I don't know whose audio is being captured on stream. Probably both, but...
Yeah, so one nice little trick you can do if you get a scream is if you... Basically, when the scream attack happens, the hitbox is actually, like, really small. So if you two-hand your right-hand weapon and block, it actually spreads your legs apart just enough that the hitbox doesn't collide with yours. So you can just... It just goes right through your character model.
Yeah, it goes to show, like, there's definitely hitboxes in this game that are really whack. But FromSoft definitely gave the player model, or I should say the player character, due diligence. Because the things like, you know, you spreading your feet apart when you're blocking with a certain item, or you raising your hands when you're using some weapon arts, these things will actually extend the hitboxes really well. Really precisely, and as such, you might be able to get hit by attacks that normally wouldn't hit you, for example. But speaking of whack, here is another way to avoid fall damage.
Yeah.
Which is a seal skip. It's a slope quit out, as we call it. Essentially, when you get on a slope in this game, the game's #1 goal is to get you to the bottom of the slope, and that has priority even over dealing fall damage to you. So this way, Sass is actually able to skip having to get rid of the water here, undoing the seal for New Londo, and just casually run through neck height water and enter the Four Kings fight.
Yeah, it's a nice little swim.
Alright, so here what Sass is going to attempt to do is, essentially, he's going to unequip the Crown of Dusk, as you can see, and he's going to attack the King. Hoping to not kill it, so just one Dark Beat at the start. Then he's gonna equip the Crown and then then cast as many Dark Beats as possible. So he's gonna strafe his attack, equips the Crown, and goes for the cast. And now that the boss is dying, as you can see, he's still damaging the cumulative health bar. So in this game, even though the enemies are dead, you can still damage them, which normally doesn't achieve anything. It just increases the damage value on their health bar or whatever. But here, because the Kings... when you attack an individual king, you're dealing damage both to an individual king, but also to the cumulative health bar. He's able to abuse that fact and kill the 4 kings in just one cycle without any of them spawning, besides the first one. So that was really well done. And this is another reason why the crown is worth obtaining, even though it takes a while to get through the lake.
Yeah,
right.
So it takes a minute to get Dust Crown, but with 2 cycle Calamite and 1 king, you save all of that back just from them.
Yep, and some more on top of that. Nice lower berg skip, one of many that exist in this game. Capra should be no problem here. 1 cast, booyah. And then a nice quit out at the end there. So essentially, how Sass quits out, the game still considers the arena to be unstable ground, so he's gonna spawn right outside of it. but he quits out at a specific time when the boss is already considered dead. So he basically gets to this transitional scenario, and as such is able to kill the boss but still spawn outside of the arena without being blocked by the dogs.
Yeah. And on Sas's side, there is actually in IGT attempts, there's actually a nice transition clip you can use there to go out of bounds, which then lets you go and skip Gaping Dragon's Fog Gate. But in RTA runs, it's not very fast at all. And also, it's
speaking
kind of
of
unsafe.
Fog Gates, that was a nice Fog Gate skip on Nax's side, so you got to see it, yeah?
Nice. Yeah, I think in terms of style, Nax wins just from that alone.
I mean, even with all the blunders, like, I mean, from Sass, besides the early part, like, his run has been very clean, which is kind of the pattern that he's observed throughout this tournament. Except for his really good 110.09, he basically always has a run where some stuff goes awry in the early game. And then what I really admire about Sass is just the mental fortitude to not give up, to not really snowball out of control. Even with all those memes in the early game, like he's gunning for like a 111 here. So that's really, really good. That would beat most runners here in the tournament. So yeah, a lot of respect there. And for Nax as well, of course, he's still giving it his all. Alright, no screams so far on Nax's side either, so we probably won't get to see the cool block, which is a shame.
And on Sas's side, we're going to see him set about his Hour of the Night here, and he's going to perform something called Toggle Escape, where when you toggle out of animations, the game basically prioritizes that animation over the animation of getting staggered. And that works for a lot of things, actually, like hard falls and everything it works for. That's pretty cool. And now he just has three Black Knights and Gwyn left, pretty much. Yeah, this is looking like a lowish 111 RTA, which is very good.
Yeah, like mid.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good. Like with the start, like I said, that's gonna still beat a lot of runners in the tournament. And as you could see this race, you never know what's gonna happen. Like there can be just a lot of memes. Seal skip from Nax on the left side. But yeah, of course, all attention now to Sass. He needs to hit one final parry, and there it is.
Nice.
Now it's just a two shots.
GG to Sass.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Besides the Sense Gate skip, which honestly, like, the first one wasn't really even his fault, the fact that the holo caught up. Ending up with a 111-22 or 21 even. Yeah, that's really good. Really kept his cool, played really, really well. Considering he had to perform Sense Gate skip 3 times. It's really good stuff. Alright, so Nax now still has 4 kings. He's gonna dodge the attack. He's gonna equip the Crown of Dusk and go for the 3 casts. Obviously, 45 dexterity plays a pivotal role here. Without 45 dexterity, all of the dark beats are not gonna be able to connect with the Dying King. And the reason the runners also don't level up more than 45 is because 45 is the cap for increasing casting speed. So if that's what you're going for, don't level more than that because it will be pointless. Also, you'll be called noob by people on the internet because you're leveling dex. I hit them body. And he's going immediately for the lower berg skip without killing the holo. Goes for the plunge. Not going for the quit out, killing the dogs instead. That's pretty clever.
Insane RTA strats.
Yeah. It's going to be navigating through depths. One thing that can be a little bit scary in a race, there's actually a point here in this upcoming jump where the game might crash, which normally, like, in an actual run, not that big of a deal, of course, but in a race, that could be very unfortunate. Don't know if we've seen any depths crashes this tournament. I haven't personally, but there's a lot of races I wasn't able to catch. But if you do enjoy these races, don't forget that you can also catch most of them either highlighted here on Twitch, if you want to see them with chat, or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/speedtools, of course. And there's still many more races to come after this one. Not today, but the next race is scheduled for Tuesday, actually, October 19th. Where it's going to be me against Ayame. That was a race that was supposed to take place today, but we had to reschedule. So that's something to look forward to on Tuesday. The winner of that match will be facing my dear Alibaba here. So that should be fun. Either way, if it's going to be me or if it's going to be Ayame, should be a good race.
Yeah, Monka Shake.
Alright, offering the souls to the Lord Vessel. Let's see if Nax also ends up getting as smooth of a kill as Saas did.
Yeah, kiln is normally pretty smooth, but the scariest parts are the fast attack from the Beaker Jess Knight and the swipe from the second Sword Knight, which can kill you sometimes. But it's pretty rare. Toggle escape. Oh, he did get the swipe I mentioned. Nice.
Yep, insane predictions.
Yeah, I swear this wasn't planned.
Not scripted, we promise. We are not pro wrestling here. All of these races are legit. Alright, let's see. One parry again. I have seen Nax fail this before, but not today. One dark beat, two dark beats, three dark beats. And as you can see now, the health bar, like you see the extra damage values popping up, right? So this is what I was talking about about Four Kings. Like you can attack any enemy that's still dead like that. But it is really just useful for... it is really useful for Four Kings because you can damage the cumulative health bar. But yeah, that was 1:12:16 in game time, 1:16 RTA for Nax. We have both the runners here with us in the channel.
Hi guys.
Congrats, guys. GG to both of you.
Hello. GG.
Hello, GG. So I have to ask immediately because this run, this race started with an absolute bang, right? So just to catch you guys up, Saas immediately he got caught up during SGS, so that means he had to do it twice. Then he panicked, died, so he ended up having to do it the third time, and I was already like shaking that this was gonna be a stomp. But then Nax unfortunately died inside of Sen's Fortress, so you guys were pretty much even after all those early game blunders. So I have to ask, how did you feel, first with you, Saas, how did you feel after that early game time loss?
First of all, like I got kind of unlucky that I got blocked at the bonfire, but at the same time, it's a YOLO setup when you go for the left side strat and don't get the follow. And I'm just not used to doing sense gate skip from that, like running from the bonfire and doing sense gate skip. So I got kind of confused there, and that's why I died. But yeah, I thought the run was over, or I thought the race was over at that point. But I'm really happy with how I played for the rest of the run. Like, I think I played the best I played in this tournament in the rest of the run.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely great mental fortitude there to be able to pick it back up and just, yeah, play really, really clean. How about you, Nax? How did you feel after that death in Sense Fortress?
I mean, pretty much the same. I just figured it was over at that point. I knew I had to like do some less safe strats, so I skipped the ONS bonfire, which I should have taken it.
Yeah, that was quite unlucky, yeah, there.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to ask, Nax, is were you looking at the chat or watching Sass's run while you were
No,
racing?
not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because that's where like the bonfire skip came from, right? Like I thought that this could be still wide open even after that ONS death, because I knew that both the runners most likely weren't watching chat or anything. So with that early game blunder on both sides, I knew that both of you would be pushing the tempo. And unfortunately for Nax, some things went a little bit awry, but I mean, still, big respect for just, running back up from the Darkmoon Tomb bonfire and trying your best. I think we all really appreciate you taking part in this tournament, dedicating the time to it. You've had some really good runs. The 1:10:20, one of the fastest runs in the tournament. But unfortunately for Nax, that is it, because this was the lower bracket. Sass is going to be moving on into losers round 6. For Sass, it's a 1:11, very solid run. The other side of the losers bracket isn't really caught up yet, so there's no opponent for Sass just yet. But yeah, I want to give some space to you, Nax, first. Is there anything you want to add? Anything you want to say?
I don't think so. I don't mind getting out at this. Like everyone from now on is really, really good. Sass is really good. It was kind of expected, and I did really well in the last tournament, so I'm not too mad or not too sad about this, because I think I played really well in the last tournament, and just it makes me glad just thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, you played really well this tournament as well. I mean, you got really far. Like, there aren't that many, as you pointed out, there's not that many competitors left. And Nax, of course, I have to mention that in the last tournament 3 years ago, he was the runner-up. He was the only one to take a game off of Kamul.
That's what I was just gonna say. I'm like, I beat Kamul. My Dark Souls career is a success.
Yeah, like that's definitely something that needs to be mentioned. And yeah, like I said, thanks so much for joining the tournament and for dedicating the time. And same question goes to Sass. Sass, is there anything you want to add while you're awaiting your next opponent?
I'm just happy that I made it here. Like, my goal was to make it into the top 4 or whatever. To basically just play the way I can play, and I guess I'm happy just that I made it this far. And it's gonna be a nice race next. It's gonna be either you or Alibaba or Ayame, so that's also gonna be a close race, I think.
That's true. Yeah, it's gonna be one of us 3 lovely lads. I think like absolutely the players that are remaining here are absolute killers. If all of them basically, if they end up getting around without like any memes, they can definitely break the 108 barrier, as I was talking about, reaching that 108, as I mentioned before in the tournament. And it's definitely something to be on the lookout for. So if you guys are interested in these races, don't forget to follow the channel. The next race is going to be, so far, it's scheduled for Tuesday. It's going to be me and Ayame. We had to reschedule from today. And yeah, don't forget to catch it. Ali, is there anything that you wanted to add or ask?
Yeah, I just want to first of all say GG to both runners and thank you to everyone who's been watching the tournament so far, and thank you for commentating with me, Kata, and Weagle for restreaming, and everyone else who's been working on the tournament. It's been a very fun experience.
Yep, pretty much sharing that sentiment. But until next time, which is on Tuesday, October 19th, please enjoy the start of the new week, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you again. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.